Welcome back to Games Revealed, the podcast version of it, that is. I am James and also the Brink, and with me I have...
High Tech Low Life. Hi. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yep, this is number 2 on the guest order, or like the incrementer of guests that have frequent this podcast again. If I could say that any more clumsily, I will try in the future. But we are going to have a really fun topic today to talk about. Not fun for game developers, but exciting for us who need to talk about new exciting things and all that. So we have some interesting things to talk about. To be fair, it's really good stuff. But before we get into that, I just want to ask you, what are you playing these days? Are you playing it on the Steam Deck? What are you doing?
Well, I am playing a lot of things. Oh my god, there's so much to play these days. There's Sea of Stars that I'm exclusively playing on Steam Deck. There's Armored Core 6 that I'm playing. There's Starfield that I'm not playing on my Steam Deck, but on my Ally instead.
It works so well on the Ally. I'm so surprised at how well that thing works.
Yeah, it's surprising how well it works, though.
It's not.
It's Starfield.
I'll be fair. It's the Ally does work pretty well compared to the Steam Deck, but not on everything. Not in everything.
Yeah. And then there's also Eternites, which is supposed to come out in a couple of days. They haven't. Hold on, let me check my email real quick.
While he's checking his email, I have been playing Starfield. I have exclusively been playing Starfield, even though I have Persona 5 I'm still working on through. I want to play Sea of Stars. I want to play more Baldur's Gate, but I can't stop playing Space Sims. Well,
Space Sims are
wannabe Space Simulator. Let's just say that.
Starfield.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't want to have to travel. Like, I know some people complain about the loading screen, but I don't want to travel that far.
Okay. I understand that. I understand that it's basically a loading screen between planets. Like, yeah, I don't want to travel. How many? It takes 2 years, in real time to travel.
You can do it. You can do it in the game, but it will take you. Yeah, it will take you almost real time. They could speed it up if they wanted to, obviously, but
I mean, okay, yeah, but there are some places that really should not be loading screens. Like, for example, exiting your ship should not be a loading screen. Like, they should add a ladder climbing animation. Like, okay, maybe I'm just asking for too much from Bethesda at this point, but I think that, at the very least, I should be able to climb down. It should be like a seamless transition from my ship to wherever the hell it's connected to, whether I'm docked on a spaceport,
yeah,
or docked into another person's ship.
Don't get me started. This whole episode will be about Starfield. I have many thoughts on it, but I do agree. I think they could have been a little bit more progressive in their whole Bethesda system. It's very much a Bethesda game. It's like Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Didn't change a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 games that come to mind when I think of Starfield, in comparisons. First and foremost, obviously, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky does all of that, and you can literally fly to planets.
Well, No Man's Sky doesn't do that much stuff in the game, in the sense of rich story, guns. There's a lot of it that I like. No Man's Sky, and if you want this true space sim, obviously that's the one you're going to go with. That's why I kind of make fun. If you want Skyrim in space, then Starfield's your game.
Yeah, and then there's also Starbound as well, which is
True.
Terraria in space. But you can't land your ship in Starbound. Your ship just kind of orbits over the planet while you beam down to it. Yeah, I mean,
Star Trek
it's still
style.
cool.
Star Trek style. That's
Yeah,
not a bad way to go. Massive. What I wanted was Mass Effect in space. Starfield didn't quite hit that, but
Mass Effect in space. Isn't
I
Mass Effect
meant I
already in
meant.
space?
Okay, well, okay. I'm gonna redact what I said so no one can get mad at me. What I meant was I want Mass Effect in Fallout or Skyrim. That's what I wanted. Or space. You don't like. Do you even get to like fly? And I don't think you get to fly in Mass Effect. So there you go.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
is it in space? No. I mean, if you want to say all of us and every single planet's in space, yes, we are in space right now. But I'm talking about in space, but not really. I messed.
Like dogfighting in space.
Sure, I messed up.
All right,
I'm
all
covering
right.
our tracks. You know who else messed up? You know who else messed up?
Who else?
Unity messed up so big this week. I couldn't. Probably one of the biggest just fumbles I have seen, and there's a lot in like a decade plus from a game developer or game company, whatever, a game associated company. It's bad.
It's a multifaceted shit fest. Oh, sorry. It's a multifaceted like shit fest. Like it's unreal. Like it's like one of those. It's like for want of a nail. Like so, you've heard that. You've heard that proverb, right? It's like for want of a nail, and then like eventually, like it leads to like not having a nail means there's no horseshoe. No horseshoe means there's no horse. No horse means there's no like
Interesting.
cavalry, and no cavalry means the kingdom's lost.
I
It's like
I
that.
don't know if I've heard that proverb before, but I get it. Yeah,
It's not. That's not the exact
it's
line.
it's the
That's
smallest thing in the whole order of things can essentially destroy the whole
yes,
order, right? And so
yes.
this
Like
there
20 cents.
yeah, go
Yeah,
for it. Sorry.
all of this for like what 20 cents an install, which 20 cents doesn't sound like a lot. It's literally less than a quarter. It's 2 dimes, but
It's a lot.
it adds up.
It adds up.
It adds up.
That's the problem. And the way they do it, yeah. So first up, we'll go through multiple aspects of this. And it's updating. So by the time you hear this podcast, let's say in 6 months, it could be a little different. A guarantee, I think they're going to step back as much as possible. And we'll get to the finalizations and all this, but I think the damage is done. We'll get to that at the end though, and talk about that. What the 20 cents does though is it's just an ambiguous number. You can't quantify that. You can't really write down, okay, we can say on average, maybe a user will install it 2 or 3 times owning the game. You can't do that. Like, what kind of, I'm sure there's some data, but like, how do you know? Like, for me, it's going to cost them a couple of bucks. I install those game I like a lot. So on different devices, and they did backtrack and say that it was per device, which I'm assuming they're going to do like MAC address or something like that to try to.
Well, let me be the first to say that us Steam Deck content creators, all of us as part of like the Steam pals, like you, me, Fan the Deck, the Fox, Steam Deck HQ, the Turk, Timo from Deckverse, like there's so many like Nerd Nest too. Like there's so many of us that just like have multiple PC handhelds.
Yeah.
Like I only have 2, but like my gaming desktop, my Steam Deck, and my ROG Ally, that's 3 devices. Like and like the Fox has like a million PC handhelds. Like the Fox is single-handedly bankrupting Unity decks.
Yeah, well, when it comes out, yes.
Yeah.
I've always had multiple devices. I will, laptops. I usually swap out laptops. I don't anymore now that gaming handhelds are a thing. But I'd get like a new laptop every other year. I'd get a new computer every other year. I have a backup computer. I have test. Like now that I'm doing more of this stuff, I have test devices.
Yeah, so here's a quote from Unity on Twitter.
Oh no.
This is what they have. So like you know how you said how can they figure out like exactly how many installs? This is how they're going to figure out.
Oh no.
We leverage our own proprietary data model, so you can appreciate that we won't go into a lot of detail, but we believe it gives an accurate determination of the number of times the runtime is distributed for a given project. So you know what this reads to me? This reads to me like they're just guessing how many like people have installed.
What they're gonna do is it's gonna be some of my from my community. Shout out, Coulter. Spyware is what he says. I think it's a little bit more gentle than spyware, but essentially in the installer, I guarantee it's gonna have to have a handshake with the server in order for it to fully install. And that's where the information is going to come from. They'll probably, and who knows, at the beginning, they probably weren't going to do this. Now that they've really dug their grave with additional things that they've mentioned, they're going to have to do it this way. They're going to have to record like either some hardware details that the operating system has, like, well, the computer has, in order to not charge multiple times on that one computer if you keep on reinstalling it. But we'll see.
I think they have already put out a statement backpedaling this, but they've only talked to one journalist about this. Let me pull up the page real quick. I've got it right here, but basically, more or less, it's from a website called Axios Gaming, or just
Yes.
Axios. I think it might actually be like a investor like website, but they spoke to this journalist Stephen Totillo, and they claim that installs will only be based on like the first time you install it on like a specific
Mm-hmm.
device. So like me repeatedly installing a Unity game on my PC would not constitute multiple 20-cent charges to the developer.
Yeah.
Because there have been a lot of concerns that like some especially radical gamers would just like create a script that would constantly install and uninstall and reinstall games multiple times over to incur like all these crazy fees, right? So there was a lot of concerns for that, and there was a lot of really funny memes made about that. But I mean, it's a real crazy concern.
Well, I still don't think they're depending on their methods. They say they're going to try to block it from like if someone wants to review bomb the game. This is the new thing. Forget review bombing. If you hate a game for any stupid minute reason, which there's one of those in Starfield, and I'm not going to get too political on this one, but people could just sit there and try to uninstall and install, and oh my gosh, I'm doing it again like I did off the stream. Uninstall and install, and it could eventually just really rack up those charges, right? And I think they're going to try to circumvent that. The ways they're going to try to do that probably could get around it if someone really wanted to try to really hurt a company.
So here's the real kicker, though. You know how it's like, okay, so you have a Steam Deck, obviously. So you know how sometimes Denuvo games kind of act up when you switch Proton versions? Like, you know how Denuvo, you have like a limited amount of activations, like I think like 5 PCs. So each time you change a Proton version, Denuvo treats it like a brand new PC, despite the fact that it's the same Steam Deck.
It's garbage system. It's another one of those ones. I hate it. But at least it's not tied to a game engine is the thing. I hate it. I not a fan of that type. Like I get DRM, but like Steam already has DRM. I get all that type of stuff, but it's not a game engine. It's not what because you could switch from DRM. So if they don't like that, if the company and enough people shout about it, they can switch it if they want. You're not switching your game out from an engine anytime soon.
Yeah, and my concern is that switching Proton, because we have to oftentimes switch Proton versions for games that have weird compatibility issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're like, we don't hate the developers, but we're racking up the fees for them. We're racking up the install fees for them for some reason. Like,
And
okay, actually, it might not be though, because we're not technically reinstalling the game. We're not downloading the files. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's weird.
I think it's going to be very different from now and when they implement this, and we'll see if they implement it. The damage is done. We'll get into once again. We'll have our final say at the end. I know I want to keep on getting to the finality on this, and really predicting everything, but the damage is done. That's what I'll say. I will see what they come up with in 6 months, though, or less than 6 months. So
apparently Unity, so you know how there were concerns about Game Pass,
mm-hmm.
and how developers would be charged for installs from Game Pass,
Mm-hmm.
and how apparently developers only get paid like upfront for their coverage in Game Pass,
Yep.
and so they walked that back, and now Unity claims that they're going to charge Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony for this new runtime. They're going to charge those platform
I
holders.
don't blame them for trying to go that route, but they, yeah, I have, yeah. I don't think it's going to work out very well. They're going to come to what's going to happen ultimately. I think with that type of route is that they're going to sign agreements to say, hey, instead of doing this, we'll pay you just flat out this much, so they get their extra money and they can cut a contract and a deal that they like. Big companies are going to do this with Unity. Hearthstone is built on Unity. They are going to do contracts. This is going to
Genshin's also built on Unity too.
exactly no anything that makes enough, like a certain amount of money, they have saying power when it comes to like doing these types of contracts. Who it's going to hurt is medium to small companies. Now that being said, we haven't mentioned something yet. This doesn't hit the smallest of game creators yet, though. It what is the threshold on that? Do you remember?
The threshold for anyone using Unity Personal and Unity Plus is you have to make a revenue. You have to make total revenue of $200,000 and have at least a minimum of 200,000 installs.
Yep.
By their metric.
Which is a lot. But in this day and age, depending on how much you charge for it, there's a lot of factors that go into this that certain companies will be hurt more. Let's say if you make an indie game that's $5 and it's a hit, there's a bunch of Among Us is one. They could potentially get charged a lot for that one copy, or lose, like they could end up losing with multiple installs like a fifth of their income from this type of strategy. And how do you, once again,
Yeah,
how do you add that up? Like, how do you, like, okay, over the lifetime of this user, we can expect to potentially be in the negative. That's ridiculous.
it's apparently retroactive too.
I heard that it is and it isn't. I think they backtracked on that one. They're not going to do retroactive. I don't know if they legally can. What is going to happen is at the beginning of 2024 is that it's going to be retroactive in, like, if you make a bill. I don't know the logistics on this yet, but it's potentially when that starts is when the install thing will start. I don't know how they would be able to even predict that on the installer unless their installer already has all this built in, which I do think this is because they're justifying it with logistics software. They essentially are analytics slash logistics. So they want to be able to, they have an analytics system, and I think they want to make more from it. So there's a good chance they're already collecting our data this long from the Unity installers. So
Oh man. Well, I mean, this whole situation is a mess,
it's
and also,
it's a cluster.
and apparently, Unity used to have a GitHub page where they would detail changes to the TOS, and apparently, it used to be that whatever version of Unity you had, you agreed to that terms and conditions for that year. I learned this from the developer of Signalis, Yuri,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently they retroactively changed it so now you automatically agree to the newest terms and conditions,
Yeah.
and you're no longer bound by whatever older terms and conditions you had for the version you currently are using.
It will be interesting because there's just so many different. Yeah, exactly. Like it's just it's so hairy. What's exactly going
It's
to happen? I don't think the retroactive thing. I think it's going to they're going to be like, okay, on anything. Well, I don't know, like anything new, maybe, or they'll cut the price, or they just won't do it at all. But we'll see.
Yeah, there's also, and I mean, there's also, the whole. There's also Unity CEO John Rich. How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce his
I
last
don't
name?
I no.
Ricciatella. We'll just go with that.
Johnny Rich.
John Ratchet.
John.
John is Ratchet.
I don't even go there. I've already messed up so many times saying stuff. I'm good on trying to pronounce his name.
But yeah. So he's current Unity CEO, former EA CEO. He was there. Like
Yep.
I learned this from
Was he
editing Standard Deck
CEO
the video on.
of EA or was he COO? I looked up his stuff. I know at one point he was COO of EA, which, to just shout out, COO is just about as bad as CEO if there's bad stuff going on at the company. The CEO kind of dreams things up, and the COO makes it happen.
Well, as far as I'm aware, he was COO and president and CEO,
Okay,
so he was
you
all
can,
of the above.
all three of those can be different titles too. That's which is bizarre. Once you get into big companies, man, things are weird. Um,
But yeah, he's CEO of Unity. He was CEO of EA during their worst era, back when they were voted the worst company in the world twice in a row. And he was also there when loot boxes were introduced in
That's
FIFA
right.
'09.
He's such a killer of companies, and like, what a killer of companies. What an ass. No, okay. So he I believe was executive person of like sporting goods, golf, Sara Lee Corporations that does like the bakery stuff. Like he has like a really really weird checkered past. He's like that I could,
I mean,
yeah,
Bobby Kotick's part of the Coca-Cola board.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but to be fair though, Bobby Kotick has been with Activision since literally the beginning of Activision, like back in the '70s, I think. So I
Mm-hmm.
not saying that Bobby Kotick's any good, because obviously he's part of that sinking ship that we call
Yeah.
Blizzard, Activision Blizzard. But
Well, I'm hoping Microsoft. I know people don't like this. I'm hoping Microsoft saves them a little bit. I'm not saying Microsoft's the best with this, but I hope that they can kind of just be like, okay, bad, bad. So they're smacking them. Bad, bad.
dude, if only.
I want
I've
StarCraft
heard,
3. I want StarCraft 3. So
I've heard, I've heard Microsoft is very hands off when it comes to these companies. I mean, that's why 343 messed Halo up like at minimum 3 times.
yeah, so they are going to back off. If there's internal strife, especially at the exec level, there's no way they're not messing with it. Blizzard needs, and in fact, from my understanding, once the whole merger finishes, a lot of exec level, C exec level, are going to be, they're going to be axed, or they're going to what they'll probably do is retire with a nice bonus.
Well, I mean, that's that's just kind of the way it is. I would prefer them not retire with like a golden parachute, but that's
I
just
don't either, but if it's to get them out there and I can have StarCraft 3 be good and not be like, oh, hey, instead of StarCraft 3, how do you like StarCraft 2 but reforged? And it's like, no, not that.
StarCraft 2, but
I don't know.
all right. Back to John Ricciotella. Back to John Ricciotella, though.
Ugh.
Apparently there are reports that he sold stocks like 6 days before they announced this. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's literal inside trading, isn't it?
No, so what he does, and this is a little tricky thing. I looked into this some more. What executives and a lot of people do at these companies, because he doesn't get paid actually that much for a CEO. He gets a lot in stock. A lot of them do this. This is how they circumvent taxes and all that. Beautiful system that I'm not going to get into. But what he does is he sets up multiple times a year to have an auto take it out, right? So I think you have to do it up to a year ahead. I think you have to do a year ahead. So there was a good chance that this was on the plans for at least a year more. He probably scheduled it. So yes, there is, but there's enough to this that it's a little speculation. We don't fully know, and it wasn't like it was a huge amount of his stock, but it doesn't look good. Let's just be honest.
Even if it's automatic, it's still not a great look. Let's be
No,
perfectly
it's
frank.
not. I only the reason why I say all this is that I just want to give people like like what I fully know on this, and I do think that does matter, but I also think it's a little bit of a maybe, but at the same time, he probably knew the roadmap and was probably planning it a year ago and probably set it into motion so that he wouldn't get in trouble. So it's not insider. So what I'm saying, it's not inside. It's not like he pulled it out last minute, like right before this went live. He had it. It's probably worse the way he did
Ugh.
it.
It's still an ugly
Yeah.
situation, and it really doesn't help add. It really helps to add to the dumpster fire that is the Unity situation.
Yeah,
And
Unity has already been declining. Just for like a little bit of context for everyone, he did mergers with ad companies. He's done a lot of stuff that's just been hurting Unity over the years. Instead of going a model that actually works, like Unreal has a really, really good model. They could have gone that route and not have to worry about any of this. They take, I think, 5% of the revenue of a company, or of the devs, of the profit or whatever, of the revenue. After a million, I believe, is once you hit $1 million in revenue, they will then start charging 5%, which is very reasonable. Like if you know what goes into making a game engine, CD Projekt Red. Let's just reference CD Projekt Red can't do it very well, right? Cyberpunk did not do
yeah,
well because the game engine did not hold up well. That's how hard it is. I believe they're a multi-billion-dollar company at this point. Could not fully get it right to release one of their most anticipated games, and even Witcher has issues. So that's what we're kind of looking at in the sense of building a game engine. It's not easy.
I can imagine. So I've heard a lot about how difficult it is to build a game engine and all of that stuff. And I don't envy game developers having to create their own game
Oh,
engine.
they love it.
I,
Here's the thing, insider thing on a lot of game developers love it. That's the problem. Some of them will get stuck making their own engine and not release their game. It's a very much a thing within the industry, starting from scratch and all that. And it's that's what I'm afraid of is with this Unity thing. People are like, well, we should create our own engine. Depends. I'd potentially fork off a Godot or something like that. At least have a head start. Yeah.
I mean, we'll leave the engine guys to make their own engine, and I mean that's fair. But I mean,
Or the resources if you have the resources. But remember,
it,
bigger companies have tried it.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. It really depends on the scope of the game. Yeah, yeah, like something as big as
Yes.
Cyberpunk. Yeah,
Big companies or big ambitions require very efficient game engines.
I don't envy. I really don't envy the guys that. I really don't envy the people that are currently too deep into Unity to switch off to anything else for the game. And like Silksong, Hollow Knight,
Mm.
Silksong, Hollow Knight's built on Unity and presumably Silksong as well. I mean, what are they gonna do? Delay Silksong like another 5 years?
No, my recommendation, like they could move to another engine. It would be there's scripts. There's a lot of stuff that could potentially port over. I don't know. I've never tried porting over like a full game. But what they should do, honestly, like people love to overblow these types of things. I think this is a really like honestly, I just would never recommend Unity at this point to any new developers. But what they should do is just release it. They won't make as much as they thought they were hoping to. Or with the backlash, it probably won't even be anything in 6 months. It will probably peter out to garbage.
Uh, yeah, I mean, Silksong's a highly anticipated game. I think people will buy the game and
Mm-hmm.
play it, and it's practically guaranteed to be a success unless it like really
As long
sucks.
as it's not free, they'll be fine. That's the thing.
I don't think I don't think it affects like people that release games for free and like actually free and like not like
Oh, so
microtransactions.
they're not charging
Like
freemium or
you
anything?
have like if you they're not sure like yeah like a lot of people on HIO they release free games and such like totally free games. Maybe they're just like tech demos or something like that, but they'll do that, and as a result they'll never hit that $200,000 threshold like ever.
Oh, that's right. You have to hit money earned threshold.
So it won't affect those hobbyist developers, but honestly, I still wouldn't recommend Unity at this point.
No, you can't
Yeah,
trust them. They broke the trust.
yeah. Oh yeah, and also John Ricciatello called developers quote fucking idiots because they refuse to monetize their games. He compared those developers to like Ferrari and then proceeded to call them idiots as well. Like, are you serious? You can't. You're gonna call Ferrari fucking idiots because they still use their hands to make cars and not like assembly machines.
Here's the thing. Just because you want to continually looking good on your books and just squeeze every penny out of the system doesn't mean like creatives. You're in the wrong industry. Go back to Sarah Lee and start making your bread if you want to squeeze those
Oh
buns out or whatever.
God.
Horrible way to put it, but great way to put it too. But honestly, like this is a creative industry. We all want to make a living. We want to do like well, but at the end of the day, games require creativity in order to be unique, to be fun, everything. You inject too much money into that, and you kind of lose some of that edge. And so, yeah,
Yo, apparently, I read somewhere that this rule isn't applying to like any casino
no,
like
it doesn't.
games or anything like that
They might not be
that
able
use
to.
Unity.
They might not be able to like there might be some law or something that was just too complex for them to deal with.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Gambling, messing with gambling and stuff. That's why game developers. That's why all of the major publishers are so afraid of loot boxes being classified as gambling because, like,
It doesn't look good. I'm a big
it. Re-
I'm a big opponent of gambling, especially promoting it for the youth. Um,
yeah, don't gamble. It's a waste of your money.
Probability wise, you just not the house wins. There's a chance that you could win, but probability wise, you're just not going to be lucky. But like maybe Rich is walking around or not walking around. He's limping around because he's getting his legs bashed in by these these gambling mafias or something. I don't know, these casino mafias. I don't even know the terminology.
Yeah, like the cartel. You could probably a cartel. I think that's
A
the more accurate term.
cartel, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Was that?
it's not. I mean, technically, cartel has a different term outside of like the Mexican drug lords.
Oh, once again, this is not an area of my expertise.
Yeah, but basically, I mean, there used to be like back in the 20s. There used to be something called the light bulb cartel, in which they would sue the shit out of anyone that made a light bulb that lasted over a thousand hours.
Why can't?
And
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, but that's besides the point.
No,
So
that really goes. I think that's a really indicative thing of like how businesses can just destroy almost industries and progression and stuff like that. And that's why this guy needs to be fired right away. Like he's done. Like a lot of these top
yeah,
execs need to be fired because they're losing the passion. They're looking at the short-term gains, and that kills companies. Pizza Hut was growing really well, and they had a CEO that cut corners and really like lowered the quality of their pizzas and upcharged too much. And so that's why you don't see Pizza Hut grow very well anymore. There's a point in time where you're like, well, it used to do really well back then. Not anymore. And that's because short-term gains. They did it so that they would look good on the books that year. And then
they're cooking the books.
kind of cooking the books. And then the following years they didn't, and they couldn't do anything about it. At that point, it was they short-term gains screwed everything. I mean, also, I mean, if you want to get into politics, the politics are doing that too. Like every aspect right now is just that short-term gains to look good in the now. And I'm hoping that this kind of gets us to wise up a little bit about it and realize. But it probably won't. This is gaming. This is game companies. I'm a gamer. At the end of the day, give me Starfield. I'll be happy, even if it's not perfect.
So I will say, there's also been a lot of reports of Unity like as a whole getting death threats, and like I don't stand with that. I don't stand with that, man. That's
No.
that's not the play. Like, yeah, I don't like Unity either, but like death threats are like a one way ticket to me disavowing the whole cause to begin with.
Well, you can never. Okay, here's the problem. You're always going to have a couple of bad characters, no matter where you're at. Even anti-union stuff and all that. If you want to, like, we're not going to get into that. But what I'm saying is, there's always going to be someone that's for the other side. There's going to be opposition. So if they want to, they can make it look like they're being attacked. There's also people on whatever side that are going to just act crazy. You can't when you get a mass amount of people, hundreds, millions of people, you can't control every person's action. You can just condemn
Yeah.
that person's action. I don't like it when people and a lot of people are doing this to disprove like a whole movement. They'll disprove it with just one or two people destroying the whole thing. I don't like that. So, and this is one of those cases. Don't do death threats. That's my opinion. I think that's most opinions. Don't do death threats. This is not a life or death situation. Well, for some dev companies, I don't think people understand this. If it's there could be a couple of companies that fall by the wayside that make good enough games that are above $200,000, but they've already made most of their money and they're trying to make their next one. And if they get gouged hard enough on this, what coming next year, they might not be able to afford food. They might not be able to afford to build the next game. There's a lot of it hurts people. This type of stuff can hurt people, and I do think um, when they make these types of decisions, they don't realize this. They think they're doing it, but like the best route for both the low and high income, but they don't know yet.
Well, I mean, all we can do is educate them and hope that,
Yes.
yeah, hope that they'll see the error of their ways.
Boycotts
Threatening,
help.
yeah.
Also, bad press helps. I do think, like at the end of the day, like this is definitely going to hurt Unity. There's no way around that. How much it's going to hurt them? I do have a question for you though. Like, how bad do you think the effects will be on Unity, like in the short term, long term?
Like, what do you mean? Like, how bad this entire situation is going to reflect on them?
How bad is it going to hurt them? Is it going to be a long term, short term? Like, kind of curious your thoughts on that.
I mean, the internet talks. The internet never forgets
No, they.
when it comes to big things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't like a publisher that can just release. Okay, like this isn't just a publisher that can just release a they can do something terrible, but then release a critically acclaimed game like Diablo 4, and then everyone all of a sudden just forgets. Like, it's not like that.
Well,
Because I don't think.
that's Diablo 4 was good, but in my opinion, it wasn't like amazing, even though it was. But
But I mean,
they tacked
you get my idea, right?
they tacked on. I know. The ideas like I don't want to get into. Sorry, you hit another topic. Landmine. But yeah, no, I get you. I get you, and I agree.
Yeah, like yeah. I mean, the point, like, it's they're a game engine company. They don't make things that end users like. Like, end users like games, not game engines. Like, I'm not playing Unity.
No,
I'm playing Hollow Knight
but
or Enter the Gungeon or like one of those
you
games.
definitely know as a gamer they don't like they'll know passively like sometimes like if you get an Unreal game and a Unity game and you get a couple of them, I bet you sooner or later like people just kind of understand, oh yeah, this one feels a little bit more like this because the way it's been programmed. It does affect the end user, but yeah, in the long run it's going to affect the game developers more than anything.
Yeah, like I don't like. Yeah, I guess it also breeds like really dumb discussions, like how Bethesda should switch to Unreal for all of their games, which, A, that doesn't necessarily mean Bethesda games are going to be better than they are, or B, like it doesn't mean that all of these bugs associated with with Bethesda games are going to be fixed. And see, they have to relearn. They make what they make because they know their tools very well. They know the creation engine very
A
well.
little too well, some will say, because some of the stuff they build in there, I'm like, why does this feel like Skyrim? I can still hold things up. Why is this so weird? Yeah, it's um yeah, I not like I never thought that people always like really like to shit on bugs in games. I'm one of those guys that like is doesn't crash my save, doesn't crash the game or like destroy my save, crash the game. If it doesn't destroy my experience completely, I'm very much I can let things go. I could let Mass Effect Andromeda go, even in the beginning of it. It didn't bother me. In fact, I found it funny, whatever. But and Bethesda is infamous for a couple of their types of bugs. I just think it's kind of a quirky, fun time. But people, man, they're so much less receptive to those types of things these days. Moving over to like Unreal, I don't think they would be solving it. I think Cyberpunk, and I think I believe Witcher 4 is going to be in Unreal, right? I believe CD Projekt Red is moving towards using Unreal. I actually agree with that. Gives me a little bit of apprehension, to be fair, to like have too many companies on one engine. I like Unreal though, so uh,
Yeah, I don't know, man. the whole Unity situation's messed up. I hope they do. I do think they are gonna try to reverse it, if not entirely remove like the fees. If they like, okay, the popular theory is that they introduced this crazy fee just for them to, you know, backpedal a little bit into a situation that's a little more favorable to them. But I mean, I think it's bad enough that they will walk back everything. They'll walk back everything, and then they're gonna hope that everyone just kind of forgets like nothing happened. But I mean, game devs are so many game devs have like already made their point. They're not going to use Unity for any future projects. In fact, Cult of the Lamb
Yeah.
said the guys that made Cult of the Lamb said they're going to delete the game on January the 1st.
From my understanding, that's a jest kind of thing. It's kind of a hollow threat, but it's still like, what are they going to do? We don't really know. There's a lot of like, because I don't know if they could legally like completely, like they could delist it. So that's probably what they're talking about, is delisting it. But
I mean, yeah, that's probably what it is. Like,
yeah, what I think is going to happen is I think they're going to reverse by the time January 1st or whenever they're going to apply this happens. They're going to reverse it back so much. There's going to be so many clauses to this that it's going to cost them more to potentially try to implement all these clauses. They're probably going to drop it. And or I do think that this is going to, I think the CEO is done. I think the CEO is going to be done within the next year. I think he's going to be ousted. There's just no way. But you're not going to see it short term, just because there's enough companies building games right now in Unity, and I would not recommend them to switch over unless they're very early into the development cycle to something else. I think that they'll finish up their game, sell it, and everything, right?
yeah. I wouldn't expect them to. I wouldn't expect them to start over from scratch.
Exactly. But long term, anyone that's picking up a new project, I bet you see a 30 to 50% decrease in projects in Unity that are going to be profitable for Unity. They're going to, even if they implement this 20 cents thing per installs, I think it's going to hurt them long term. I think they're going to lose more money after the next year or two. It's the Pizza Hut effect all over again. They're going to lose money long term and potentially just almost kill themselves. They'll be able to recover if they could recover. I think they have enough there that they could recover in a couple years, saying, hey, we're going to a new pricing model, we're going to redo everything 5%, just like Unreal, and we have contracts. There's a lot of things that they could do to fix it, but any growth that they were expecting for the like foreseeable future is essentially been nuked from this.
Well, I mean, they kind of deserve it, Av. I mean, they should have consulted with developers about this. I'm sure. I'm sure there's not a single company that would have agreed to this. Like anywhere from AAA devs to definitely not indie devs.
Not with this price. There's so many different pricing models they could have gone with. This is, I've seen this type of pricing model, and it just does not work well. It does not work well because it's unpredictable.
Oh, hold on. There's been a new report
There's a couple of
that
new,
came out.
yeah. There's a couple of new things that we haven't quite covered yet.
Well, I'll read you the headline for this one. It says, Unity will quietly waive controversial fees if developers switch to its ad monetization service.
That's one of them. It came out a couple hours ago.
Oh no.
It's not like, that's not much better, and it's not a bad way to go. If they would have started out doing stuff like, hey, we will waive pretty much almost all fees if you throw the ad system into your games, I get that. It's like an Unreal kind of contract. Because if you're on the Unreal store exclusively, or when you buy, or not exclusively, but exclusively does matter with this too. But if you sell in the Unreal store, they'll waive a bunch of fees.
You mean the Epic Game Store?
Yeah, the Epic, the Epic store, yeah. Well, what?
Oh, yeah. I get it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's good. I honestly think that's a good way of doing business in this. Like, they need to make their money. They put a lot of time and effort into the Unreal Engine, no matter what people want to say. But yeah, you gotta work this through it. And did they? Yeah. Did you exactly? So when you're doing development, when you're doing business, what you do is you do user testing. You do a lot of different types of litmus tests and tests to make sure that this is a viable direction. Whether it's pricing, whether it's product, whether marketing, whatever it is, you do tests. You validate whether or not you're going to do is going to be good. I don't think they did that. And which is worse is that sorry, I am so like this is a big deal for me as I do some game development. This hurts like the average Unity developer there, like not people making games with Unity, but the Unity devs and business and everyone else has built this company from the ground up because a lot of them are still there. This is such a gut punch. I guarantee most of them are not happy with this decision, and maybe a lot of them didn't even know about it. I feel bad for those people because this thing that they built was essentially killed by their execs that they had to trust. They didn't even have a choice to trust them.
Unity. How did things go? How did things get this bad?
Having a CEO that doesn't care about gaming is a big part of it.
Yes.
At least John over at Unreal Epic, John Carmack, right? Am I thinking of the right person?
John, I don't think John Carmack works at Epic.
No,
No.
I'm thinking of someone else. Sorry, I'm not the
Tim
best.
Sweeney?
Yes, that's it. Tim's. Oh my gosh, just makes me think of a musical. Besides the point, he is more of a gamer. He gets that type of thing a little bit more. He wants to do right by devs, even though people do cry about it sometimes. I don't think any of the stuff I've seen is unreasonable. And him entering the market the way he has does at least add some competitive advantage for Valve. Valve now has a good competitor to go against, and I think that's really worthwhile. Um, this kind of kills the Unreal having a good competitor. They do have and before I take up all the time talking myself, they have CryEngine and Godot are probably their two next upcoming competitors. With uh, Amazon Lumberyard is kind of something, but we'll see. Yeah, that's the competitors. Like Unreal destroys, I think, both those other ones. And people aren't going to like me saying that, but it just does.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's yeah. Anyways, it, that's probably what's gonna. I mean, all the people that want to make higher fidelity games are gonna make Epic. Are gonna go on Epic. All the people that want to make 2D games are probably gonna go on Godot,
Yep.
and then
If you want a
um,
really good open source engine, not open source, sorry, open world engine, the CryEngine's really good for that. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's also the source engine, but that's Valve needs to
I don't
make
think anyone. I don't think anyone's developed anything in Source since like
because Valve they need to get their shit together. Source 2 has not come out publicly yet. I don't think so. They might have allowed. I think they have allowed. I don't know. I'm not going to get into speculation, but Source 2 needs to release, and they need to put more effort into that and hire more people and compete against Unreal, so we have another competitor in this world. Because um, at the end of the day, I think Godot is good, but it's not going to be a triple A, double A. I'm not going to build my game in Godot yet. I've played around with it. I don't like it as much as Unreal Engine when it comes to tooling.
that's valid. That's valid. Yeah, I'm gonna pay attention to the situation to see how far it deteriorates. I feel like it's just gonna get worse from here, but we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, and I think you called it out right too. That smaller companies, 2D games, all that type of stuff will go. Those types of game developers are going to go to Godot, and then everyone else is going to go to Unreal Engine. You can still make a good 3D game in Godot. It just depends on how simple it is. CryEngine, you can make a like really good. Like CryEngine's a good engine that people forget about, and it's available for people to use too. Not as much. I think you have to license it right off the bat. It's not like easy to get up and running, but game companies could do it. Unreal Engine just made it so simple. In fact, I think Unreal Engine, like Epic's been doing so much for Unreal that it's been really, really enticing Unity developers to go over to it more. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I think I don't have it. I don't think I have anything else to say on this front.
Okay, I will say one more thing. The people over at Epic are probably shouting in Mission Control, being like, "We did it!" when they didn't do anything. We did it. We're gonna get the most of. We're gonna get so many more contracts, so many more games built in the thing, and they didn't have to do anything. The Unity shot themselves in the foot, kind of thing. And so, at the end of the day, what I wanted to ask you something on this, but I think I already asked it all of it. So, yeah, I I think we can start wrapping this topic up. If there's anything
Yeah.
else you want to talk about, we can go into it. Steam Deck, Legion Go.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. Kind of leads into Steam 2020, and also there's a sale on Valve's goodies, such as their bundles, their like massive bundle of games. Basically, everything but Half Life Alex is like $10.
They do that every time. So that's a note. If you ever want to get into the Valve world of gaming, they're always on sale. Like when they're doing their massive sales, they're always on sale. It's so good.
And the Steam Deck is on sale, 20% off every SKU except for the refurbished ones, I believe.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I guess I've gotten used to Steam Deck being on sale now. It used to be a big deal, but after this is the third time they've done it.
Hey man, in another 10 years it'll be 30% off.
In another 10 years, I'm hoping that Steam Deck 3 comes out. So, um, yeah, no, it's a good deal. It's a really good deal. I think that it makes sense to do. Okay, so yeah, it's 10, 15, and 20% off, depending on which SKU it is. And yeah, no, I think it's perfect timing. Christmas is coming up. If you need to get yourself something for Christmas, I will have to say though, the Ally is nice. It is. I think it's a competitor, and I think Legion Go is a competitor. It just depends on the experience you want, right?
I want to get a Legion Go. Like I want to get a Legion Go because it just sounds kind of insane to me. Well, first and foremost, it's more powerful than the Steam Deck. Obviously, it's probably slightly more powerful than the ROG Ally, but I love the concept of
Mm-hmm.
detachable controllers, and because some people say it's a waste of like resources and stuff because who plays games like that? Well, I played my Switch like that for quite some time. I enjoy it. I like opening up the kickstand of my Nintendo Switch, taking out my Joy Cons, and just playing games on the table, kind of like this, leaning back, both my hands out with controllers in each hand, and like I don't have to have my hands together to hold a controller. Sometimes it's just really relaxing.
Yeah, I have a friend that does that too, and he likes it. I don't personally do it. What I do is when I will hook up to my TV, put it into the dock, and I'll take them off and then put them in the combiner thingy. I don't even remember what that thing's called. And then I'd play it like that, and I don't have to hook up another controller to it. It's just done. It's already synced and everything. Right now, I have to carry around. I don't even know where it's at, so that's even worse. My PS5 controller in my bag with my Steam Deck if I ever wanted to. And I do have docks and various reasons. I have so many docks in the house. Every TV has a Steam Deck dock with all the reviews I've done. And yeah, I have to use my PS5 controller if I want to do it from a distance. The nice thing about something like the One X Player 2, which was already, is one that does this, and then also the uh, Legion Go is that you can take it off, play it from a distance, or hopefully, I'm hoping that they have some type of device to hook it in, even if it's cardboard, whatever, to make it so that I can have a more ergonomical and not have it be loose. I just don't like it loose. I'm getting too old to learn
I'm
the
sure
loose
someone's gonna
controls.
3D. I'm sure someone's gonna 3D model a model.
It's true. I do have a 3D printer, but not everyone does. So I'm hoping there's some good accessories that come out.
Yeah, I don't have one either. Yeah, I don't have one. Yeah, like the the thing that really has me curious is the mouse mode, because the big thing with like
Yeah.
the handheld devices is that you could play FPSs, but it's probably not going to be as accurate as like a mouse. And while a lot of people swear by gyro, it really requires like a rewiring of your brain to really make use of gyro. And it's one
Yeah.
that kind of haven't really done myself, despite trying numerous amounts of times. Personally speaking, maybe I'm just bad at FPSs and controllers, but it's a learning curve. I can see it working really well. I can understand why
Yeah.
gyro is so good. It's just hard for me, having played with my caveman brain using my twin sticks and then using my mouse and keyboard. But hey, Legion's got me covered. Apparently, Dave 2D thinks it's good enough for him to stay in Grandmasters in Overwatch.
That's true. No, wait, is he in Grandmasters and Overwatch? Did that do like?
Yeah, he's mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah,
He's Grandmasters
I
in
guess I always
Overwatch.
put it over. I'm like, there's no way, but no, I guess okay. When you're making one video like a month, he makes more than that. But when you make like very specific videos, I guess you have a lot more time to just do a ton of different gaming.
I mean, yes. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, he's not a full time content creator. I think he has an actual job at a hospital,
Um, I,
if I'm not
he
mistaken.
used to. I don't know. I know that like yeah, 2 years ago he was a full time, or he wasn't full time content creator. The amount of money he's got to be making, even if he doesn't have, I can't remember if he has sponsors on. He might work somewhere else, but there's no way he's not making bank.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I know he's definitely making bank, but
And
like,
if you're Grandmaster Overwatch, no way. Like he literally
oh,
and I
hold on, my headphones just died. Give me a second
oh
to plug them in
you're
real
good.
quick. Technical difficulties. Technical difficulties. I can't hear what you're saying,
No,
but my
I
mic
will.
still works.
Yeah. So there's just no way that he doesn't just sit there and play Overwatch all day if he's Grandmaster. He has a family, kids, and all that. But enough to Dave 2D. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, Dave. Yeah, Dave 2D's Grandmasters. It's kind of crazy because tech YouTubers kind of have this reputation of being bad at video games. I mean, I've seen a couple of Austin Evans videos, especially of him playing Fortnite. And I mean, I know he's just showcasing hardware, but like,
His persona screams that he would be bad at video games.
and Dave 2D made a video about how tech tubers are really bad at video games too. It's really
That
funny.
is what I
I guess
call
he
that.
can make it because he's I guess he can make a video like that because he's actually good at a video game.
I'm good at specific video games, but when you get out of things, like yeah, I'm not as good. First person
Yeah,
shooters,
like
I used to be really good at first person shooters, and then I was also in. I don't think I'd hit masters, but I was in gold on StarCraft 2.
I mean, I still play some
No,
FPSs. I
diamond.
still play
I was diamond.
I still play Destiny 2 quite often, and I go flawless in Trials of Osiris solo more often. I don't know if you know what that is, but like it's a grueling
Yeah.
sweat fest of like 7 matches to make it to the lighthouse, and you have to win 7 matches without losing to make it to the lighthouse, and if you lose, you can either continue, but you won't get to go to the lighthouse to get the best loot,
Mm-hmm.
including cosmetics. Or you can
Yeah.
start over and go through it again, and it's full of like the sweatiest gamers that probably should be playing. It's full of the sweat. It's full of the sweatiest gamers that should probably be playing for a team for a game that actually pays well.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But it's a miracle I make it because I use meme builds that no one knows how to play against.
Oh, you're
Like like people use like they use hand cannons, which are like really good revolvers,
mm-hmm.
like 3 shots to the head and you're dead most of the time. I use 3 grenade, like when I played, I used 3 grenade launchers. Three like I used 2 breach loading grenade launchers.
until you just wreck house. Oh my gosh. StarCraft had something similar too, was with Zergling rushes. Like at one point they had to balance it out to where you could just rush with a couple of Zerglings and just win every time. I
Oh man.
There was at one point in how I got one of the reasons I got the diamond, which like right before master, because there's a diamond master then grandmaster. I believe is how it goes. I would rush with zealots. There's a point where you could just do this like type of strategy and almost win every time, and that got me there and got me in a little bit of trouble. But because once you go against really good people that know how to counter these strategies, then you're kind of effed.
Yeah, well, I mean That's just the way the meta works, I guess.
It is, and that's
Once,
why I don't do the meta. I used to do League of Legends a lot too, and I just don't because chasing that meta, man.
I mean, there's always the meta, and then there's the other meta that counters meta A, and then yeah, sometimes there's the rogue strategy that no one knows how to play against because it's not meta and no one knows the strengths like you do. I mean, like
Yeah.
you don't see that a lot in like other genres besides fighting games, where like you'll see like
Oh yeah.
fighting games is like the only genre where you'll see someone with a low tier win because I'm not sure what it is. Either it's more balanced, or maybe the players are just more dedicated, or because it's more like intimate. It's a 1v1 match instead of like a 5v5 where yeah,
A lot of like,
or maybe
yeah.
yeah, or maybe the games are just more balanced that way. I don't know.
Well, League of Legends always balancing. Like with all these games, they're always balancing, but League of Legends is balancing. They're man, they one month you're like, dude, the character is so awesome. Next month they nerf it so hard. It's so bad. Uh
Oh, that's the worst.
it
That's the
is
worst, man.
because I have a couple of my favorite. I don't play League of Legends. I like League of Legends, but I don't play it anymore. This is making me sad now. We need to move on to something that makes me happy, like the Legion Go's mouse. I just wanted to say something real quick about that. Um, I do think it's going to, depending on how successful it is, I think maybe we'll see some copycats from other companies. I do think the Switch style is cool. Controllers, I do think it will. I hope it lends to accessories and replacements. So if your joystick dies, you can get a new attachment. Hopefully, instead of like opening up your device to replace it or whatever. But that mouse is that's that's why I'm getting this over the Ioneo Kun, is that I want the Legion Go for the all the quirky tech goodness that it brings. It's not good looking in my opinion, but it's got the bezel-less, essentially near bezel-less screen, and then it's got all the bells and whistles that are just unique. Where the Ioneo Kun is a very good um Steam Deck 1.5, if you want to say, not quite a 2, right? It's like a wannabe Steam Deck 2.
So I want to bring the controls of the Legion Go to its limits. Like I want to play like a really hard FPS, like Ultra Kill, and
Oh,
I'm gonna bring Lenovo's Legion Go to its knees. And honestly, it's gonna be hella fun. Also, one more concern I have with the Legion Go is that the mouse buttons are on the side or the right side of the controller. I've had a lot of viewers mention that, and that it's a major concern because they're worried that when they're pressing like R1 and R2, that they might accidentally press the mouse buttons, and like it's not even a matter of if they're enabled or not, but
they're not going to be
they say
enabled. Even if, yeah, at the end of the day, I can almost guarantee you they've tested it. There's no way that they're going to have such a bad flaw in the device.
yeah, like I think the main concern is that they're just going to be clicking in, even if they're not doing anything, they're going to be
That'll be
clicking in. It's
annoying.
kind of yeah, like I don't like if I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna get in the way, like because if I think about it, like my finger is on like the bumper, right, and like it's being held by an area that I can barely put any pressure into, like the part of the finger that like connects to my palm. What do I call that? What do I call that?
Yeah.
Like the segment closest to my hand.
I don't know. I'm
Like
I'm too busy to like looking at it on the camera. Yeah, I would probably. Yeah, I don't think I'd click it. The way that my hand sits on the side, I wouldn't click it.
yeah.
I think people are overthinking it.
Well, I'll be sure to make a point of I'll be sure to make a point about that when I get a Legion Go whenever it's available for purchase or whatever.
Did you get the like notification to reserve put in and everything on Best Buy?
No, I didn't sign up. Is it available? Can I buy it on
Yes.
Best Buy right
No, you
now?
can't buy it. What you do is you put your email in to get notified. So you're like a
Oh,
little bit. I think you're a little queued up or something like that. I don't know. It's the same thing that the Ally did. Um, I put my name in
I'm
there, like yeah, right when it. Luckily, I was streaming when they went. I think I was streaming or something like that when it went live. People told me, but yeah, no, the Legion Go, like,
yeah.
because I was going to get the Ioneo Kun, but the Legion Go is just too enticing, and I'm not going to get both.
So I just want to say that a lot of people are clamoring over the fact that the Aya Kun has trackpads, but like what makes the Steam Deck, and they're saying that like it's going to be like the Steam Deck trackpads. I'm going to say it's not, because what makes the Steam Deck trackpad so good is entirely Steam input. Like you can change a lot of the stuff in Steam
Yeah,
input. And like, okay, yeah, you can use that as a mouse. That's fair enough. But like, Steam input can do so much more with those trackpads. You can do so much more with those trackpads because of Steam input. Like, I make radial menus, two separate ones at that too, for like specific PC only titles, and it's really useful. And like, unless Ionita wants to replicate that system, or somehow works with Valve to get their Ionita Kun registered as like a Steam Deck, like in terms of controller, like I
yeah.
don't see it happening. I don't see it being anywhere near as good or useful. And I mean, it's
It's
telling because Taki Udon made a video about the Kun, and from what I watched, he doesn't really mention anything about doing anything with the trackpads aside from like the ear and mouse. Like, that's it.
but there's two of them. That's why they're gonna mimic, at the bare minimum, they're gonna mimic control the joysticks, the controller sticks or whatever. They're going to mimic those. Are they going to be as good as the Steam input? Probably not, but I wonder if there's going to be some drivers or some third party stuff that kind of helps with that. It's intriguing. Until the Legion Go, the Ionio Con was the most interesting device for me. And so Legion Go just kind of destroyed that. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not, unless they're giving them to me, I'm not testing all these different devices. I'm going to be going with the Legion Go.
Yeah, probably same. I've been trying to review some of these other devices, but like, I get a little anxious because as soon as I see like this device finally ship out to like end users, they announce a new one, and like it kind of has me
That's another
nervous.
reason. Like Guy and Neo, I believe someone did a like an actual interview with them recently and explained why Ionio releases so many, but I don't. I know China does better with those types of SKUs. I don't think it helps them here.
Yeah, they really should establish like a a Western branch if they want to do stuff like that here. Probably.
They need to get better into logistics, and from my understanding, in Australia you can pick one up at a store. So in Australia you can't pick up Steam Deck, but you can go and pick up an Ion Neo device or an Ally.
Like in a store, like in a brick and mortar store,
Yep.
like Best Buy Australia
I
or whatever they
I
have
have
there.
no clue what store it is, but Australia is in a different region, and the way that they are, yeah, I could believe that. It's a little different.
Hmm.
Um,
I guess it's fair. Australia, Australia would be closer to China than like we are.
yeah, it's definitely gonna, yeah, exactly. Like logistically, it's just different. Um, there's
Mm.
another reason for Steam to maybe partner up with some companies to help with logistics that are even beyond what they're currently doing. But I don't know.
I mean, on the topic of Steam, they Valve hasn't brought the Steam Deck to any other region since they brought it to like
Asia.
Asia, to like Japan, China. Wait, did they even bring? No, I don't know. Did they bring it to China? I don't remember China being mentioned, but they mentioned Japan was the big one. South Korea was another big one. Hong Kong, Taiwan. I think those were the four. I'm not
That,
sure.
that's for sure. I think those are about right.
Yeah, like,
I can't remember China itself. Um, hmm.
but like, it's been almost a year since that happened. Since Valve made that announcement.
There's a lot of rumors going on with Valve coming out with a new Steam Machine 2 or the Deckard project certification stuff going through. There's so much to go on with that speculation wise. Maybe they just didn't want to deal with it. Maybe they're working with a new partner. There's so much that Valve just doesn't tell us.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me. Remember Valve News Network back in the day? I mean, I can see why he changed his name from Valve News Network to his actual name, like Tyler McVicker, I think it
Tyler
is.
McVicker, I've watched him forever. I love Tyler McVicker. Because I'm a big
Yeah.
Valve Half Life person, and he digs into that code. That's what happened recently with a Steam Deck fanatic. Is he dug through the code and was able to come to the conclusion that there's new hardware coming. He's thinking it's a Steam Machine 2. I It will be interesting. It will be using the same Van Gogh chipset, which I think is a big mistake, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Rich from Fan the Deck seems to think that it might be like a Steam like machine plus like a wireless VR headset combo. So like you have the Steam like box,
Yeah.
and yes, you could use that as like a standalone
You
console.
did the video, the source. That's the guy I'm talking about. The source for that video for from Rich was that guy that he did a live stream on it and did a huge presentation. That's where
Yeah.
he got the information.
Sadly, it's Bradley. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
So
That's it.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, so Rich believes it, and I certainly think it's probable as well. I mean, the big question is, when's Valve going to release it? Because I mean, at this point, we've been hearing about the Deckard since before the Steam Deck itself was released. Even I think.
Where are we? I know that it started picking up about a year ago. The Deckard project started about a year ago. We started hearing, I think, the strong rumors, the Deckard, like actually knowing the Deckard. Before
Whatever the yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
before
Sorry.
that, Gabe Newell did mention that they were working on, a headset and multiple other projects that they were experimenting with in a Steam Deck esque way. But the Deckard was one we didn't get like more definitive proof until about a year ago.
So I will say that if they release one of these like devices, they should release. Okay, here's my question. If Valve goes the whole box and wireless VR headset, do you think they'll sell it in a combo, or do you think they'll sell them separately?
They'll do both. That's how they kind of go about it. They even sold different versions of the Valve Index, um, Steam Index, whatever
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
like with
I know.
like with just the headset,
Yeah.
or like with the light. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I,
Another
it
question.
doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's how they did it. Because you have to have the whole kit.
Well, I mean, if you have the lighthouses from the old Valve, the Vives,
They're
you can
not.
use those with.
They're not
They're
nearly.
not
They're
compatible.
not as nearly as good. I think they were compatible. They're not nearly like they're. It's you're not going to get the same experience.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, the options there.
They are.
But
It
yeah,
is.
but yeah. But here's another question: do you think they'll come up with a Steam controller too?
Yes. They even the hardware peeps at Valve have talked about wanting a second one. So I do think they'll
Do
make a
you,
second one.
do you think it's going to be more similar to the original Steam controller too, or the original Steam controller, or do you think it's going to be like a Steam Deck controller?
It's very similar. It will probably be a melding. Like it won't. It probably won't be as ergonomical. I just think it threw people off enough. I think it will be a melding between the two. It'll probably be closer to what the Steam Deck 2 is. Or I'm not Steam Deck 2, but Steam Deck. The Steam Deck 2,
Yeah,
who knows? Removable.
yeah. Like I understand because I've spoken with a lot of people in the Steam controller community, and they don't like the Steam Deck's like controller layout because it de-emphasizes the trackpads, because the trackpads are kind of down there.
Oh, completely
And
replacing. Yeah.
yeah, like because it is a big leap of faith, right? Like
Here,
you have to.
here's the thing people don't want to hear. People really don't
Yeah,
like it when I get honest. Not enough people care about that was trackpads. I'm so sorry. I do think that the controller that comes out might have both options. Maybe they'll do one or the other. I don't know if they'll do the original Steam controller or else they'd still be. I know that they can't still sell it because of legal reasons, but they could still sell it if they wanted to. Like buy the patent. All they had to do is pay for the patent. That's it. That's it. We could still have the Steam controller. But
yeah. I mean, I hope that both I hope that it's good enough to satisfy both camps. But I don't know. We'll see. Well, first they have to release a Steam controller too. I think that's the
agreed.
first step.
If they can make it more modular, I think that would be the right way to go to make people happy. So you can swap things around. Beyond that, it will still sell well if it's only trackpads. But I won't. I will buy it, but it won't. Like even with this regular Steam controller, I liked it, but I'm just too used to an Xbox or PlayStation controller. At the end of the day,
Yeah. So also today, what happened? A lot happened today. First and foremost, Nintendo Direct. I don't know if you want to talk about that,
oh my
and then the
gosh,
subsequent PlayStation state of play happened today as
I didn't
well.
even want. Okay, we're gonna be. Let's talk about that in the bonus level. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
It's
Yeah,
something
sure.
for us to talk there. I'm sorry, like we're past time. We know that people have important things to go do, feed pets, animals, kids, themselves, whatever it is. We'll leave a little time for you to do that, and you can come back and listen, watch us in the bonus level that you can find on YouTube as being a member. If you're just any member, you'll get that on the Games Revealed YouTube channel or on the Games Revealed Patreon, or maybe over somewhere special that High Tech Low Life has. So I'll be giving him the file for that too. Is what I'm trying to do.
Yes, for all two of my patrons on Patreon, I think
Don't
they'll enjoy it.
don't downsell. Yeah. No, they'll enjoy it. They'll enjoy it. So thank you guys for listening, for watching, for enjoying. Let us know if there's a comment section. Actually, if you're on Spotify, if you might not know this, there is a way to leave feedback there too. They're trying to be YouTube. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment
Oh,
below. Let us know what you think. What is Uni going to do? What is it going to look like in 6 months? What what game engine are developers going to go to from Unity, and then also Legion Go or the Ionio Con. I know I've had a poll on this before. It's always interesting to see what people go with. So let us know in those comments. And as always, High Tech, do you want to leave any of what you're working on, places that people can find you?
well, I mean, you can always find me on YouTube. That's where my primary content is. Uh, you can also see me editing videos for Fan the Deck as well. I mean, I don't say anything in those typically, but
They're really well edited. I have to admit to that. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, he's a great editor. So I definitely think you're doing a good job there. Um, yeah, if you're, did I cut you off? Are you done?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of other places. You can see my totally unhinged responses on Twitter.
I witnessed them. They're fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
I'm still a lurker. I don't know how people do it. I'm so bad at like saying my opinions, but then again, I have two different personas, like in the sense of I have Games Revealed, which I want to keep more professional, but I've always logged in as that, and I have the Brink, and I just never used it that much. Yeah. So before I go any further into this episode, let's jettison this thing. You guys can go over and watch this in the bonus level. Please do so. Please support the channel, and also all the guests that come on, and stay classy, stay whatever it is. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.
Later. Congrats. Secret level unlocked. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter to curb that craving for more. If you like this episode, then make sure to leave a like, rating, follow, or whatever the platform has. Also, make sure to check out our merch at shop.gamesrevealed.com or shopundead.com. Peace.